Hi again, everybody, and welcome back to the Baseball Replay Journal. And we're going to do another 1908 game for you here today. This is going to be the final game of the day for April 18th, 1908, as we've got the Cubs at the Cardinals here at the very end of the day. This is a Saturday, I believe, in real life, which means that, and I'm looking at my schedule to cheat, it is a Saturday. Next day will be a Sunday, which means we won't have quite as many games. Then we start all over again on Monday. And here is Johnny Evers leading off for the Cubs. He rolls a 25 for an 11, and he gets a base hit right off the bat off of Bugs Raymond and steals second base on the next pitch. And here comes Joe Tinker now. Raymond has one of those big 15 grades, very good pitcher, but he can't do anything about that result number 11. Joe Tinker up there, and where he's going to swing away. And he rolls a 34 for a 44, and we got to worry about this little E first. The roll's a 14, so the little E will come into play. That's a 22, which is first baseman, I think. Yes, it's a bad pickoff move. Runner to third, aired on the pitcher, not on the first baseman. And so Evers moves over to third base and has nothing to do with the first baseman, actually. And Tinker is still up there now with the runner on third base. And we're going to play the infield deep this time. I'm not going to bunt with Joe. And the roll is a 54 for a 45. Here's another little E check. So Tinker has two of those and one at bat. This is a 44, so you don't have to worry about it. It's a fly ball to right field, and it is Murray making that catch, and Evers is able to score. And it's 1-0 Cubs just like that. Barely anything's happened in this game. People haven't even sat down yet, and it's 1-0. Frank Chance is up there now, rolls a 13 for a 14, and he walks. Here comes Pat Moran now. Pat Moran is in there for... who's usually in there? Kling. Moran is in there sort of because Kling's a little bit tired. We'll put it that way, and we're going to do a hit and run quickly. Moran, a good hitter. The roll is a 33 for a 7, and that hit and run ends up being a little ground ball over to second baseman Gilbert, who makes the play at first base, and that moves Chance up. Remember, this 7, because you're against an A and C, or A and B, it turns into a 26, which is that ground ball to second base. Frank Chance moves up to second. The hit and run doesn't always save you, is basically what that one means. Here's Jimmy Sheckard now with 2 outs, runner on second base. Rolls a 56 for a 34, and we have another little E to worry about. And the next roll is a 32, so that's a little fly ball over to Gilbert at second base, makes the out, and we go to the bottom of the first inning, and here's Red Murray. His roll is a 61 for a 30, and that's a fly ball over to Sheckard in left field for the first out. Here's Albert Shaw. And his roll is a 64 for a 29. That is a ground ball back to the pitcher, and Brown makes the throw over to first base, 2 away now. And here's Kenichi, rolls a 22 for a 7. That's a base hit, first hit off of Three-Finger Brown in this game. And here's Joe Delahanty. He rolls a 56 for a 34, and there's a little pop out over to Tinker at shortstop, makes the play. We go to the top of the second inning, and here's Harry Steinfeld. So some of you who are used to APBA probably wonder why both Brown and Raymond have this 15. The reason why is because these ratings are based upon the batted against average and not on ERA or wins. So that's one of the things that makes Skeetersoft NPIII different. Something to keep in mind. Steinfeld, rolls a 51 for a 9, and that's a strikeout, of course, against Raymond, who is an A. And here's Wildfire Schultz now, and the roll is a 24 for a 13. Strikeout number 2 of the game for Bugs Raymond, who's starting to get his pace here. Here's Jimmy Slagle, rolls a 46 for a 29. This little comebacker over to the pitcher, throws over to first base for the out. We go to the bottom of the second inning. Here's Billy Gilbert, and with a card as ugly as that, you wonder why he's not hitting ninth. His roll is a 51 for a 9, which is a strikeout against Three-Finger Brown, who's an A. And here is Patsy O'Rourke. He rolls a 21 for a 30. That's a little calm fly ball over to Sheckard for the second out. Here's Bobby Byrne. He rolls a 54 for a 45, and that's a fly ball over to right field. It's going to be Schultz who's got that one for the out. And here comes Three-Fingered Brown to start off the top of the third inning for the Cubs. He rolls a 55 for an 8, and that's a little harmless pop fly over to Byrne for the first out. And here is Johnny Evers. Evers rolls a 65 for a 35, and we're going to have that little E come up. Rolls a 66. That's a little foul out again to Byrne. Second out, and here's Joe Tinker. He rolls a 44 for an 8, and that's going to be another pop out once again to Byrne. He makes all 3 putouts in that inning. How about that? At some point in time in the future, I'm going to talk a little bit more in a little video about the little E and why that's used and all that other stuff. Just roll with the punches this time, and we'll worry about playing the games when we're playing the games. Here is Art Hulskutter, the Cardinals catcher. Has a name I really like. He rolls a 44 for an 8. And that's a little pop fly over to Steinfeld at third base for the first out. And we've had a whole bunch of those in a row here. Here's Bugs Raymond. Rolls a 13 for a 36. And that tells you how little Raymond actually walked in real life. He gets a ball, and there's a 23 for a 30. And that's a fly ball over to Sheckard and left. 2 away, and here's Red Murray. And he rolls a 23 for a 32. That is a fly ball over to Schultz in right field for the out. And we go to the top of the 4th, and here is Frank Chance now. Very, very quiet ball game, 1-1 with only 2 hits, 1-0 rather. And Frank Chance ends up walking, rolls a 45 for a 14 for the walk. Here comes Pat Moran now with the runner on first base and Chance, and we're going to hit and run again. And the roll is a 55 for an 8, and that ends up being a ground ball over to Gilbert at second base, makes the play at first. Chance moves up. Hit and run does what it's supposed to, and that means that with 1 out now, here's Jimmy Sheckard. And he rolls a 55 for a 9, and that ends up being a ground ball over to O'Rourke at short, makes the play at first base for the second out. Chance moves up to third, and here's Harry Steinfeld. He rolls a 34 for a 44. That's a little calm fly ball over to center field, and it's Shaw who makes the catch on that one. We go to the bottom of the 4th inning, still only 2 hits in this one. And here is Shaw. He rolls a 31 for a 9, and that is a strikeout against Three Finger Brown. Brown with the second strikeout of the game, and here's Ed Kenichi. Rolls a 42 for a 22, and that has changed to an 18. That's going to be an error on Joe Tinker, the shortstop, and he reaches first base. First error for the Cubs in this game. And here's Joe Delahanty now with Ed Kenichi on first base. Delahanty is going to swing away. We're not going to do a hit and run with the slow Kenichi on first. And the roll is a 31 for a 9, and that's a single that beats out the infield hit, of course, even against the A. And Kenichi moves up to second base, and here comes Billy Gilbert. This is where we really regret having Gilbert hit so high up in the order. We're going to have to bunt with him with that card. Man, that is an ugly card. And he rolls a 14 for a 43, and the bunt is probably going to save him in this case. Otherwise, it's a weak flyout. Now it's the little E that will save him. The roll is a 16, and that changes the result to an 18 for an error. The second error of the inning on Tinker. And that ends up filling up the bases, and this is a potentially important moment, I would say, of this ball game. The bases are loaded now with only 1 out, and we're going to have O'Rourke coming up here now. 1 out in this one. It's still a 1-0 game. Three-fingered Brown kind of trying to hold on for dear life. And question here is what sort of strategy it is that we should employ as the Cardinals. Do we... I mean, this is the question, right? Do you bunt here? Do you try to swing away with O'Rourke? Do you risk the double play? Is it better to bunt? Should you bunt with a slow runner on a third base? I mean, the defense is obvious. You bring the infield in. I think that we're probably going to bunt here, just glancing very briefly at the card, and especially at this on-base percentage and the lack of slugging ability. Let's bunt, even though Kenichi's slow. Let's see what happens. Rolls a 13 for a 39, and... that means that the catcher here, Moran, is able to catch Kenichi off of third base. And that is the last thing in the world that you want to have happen, and that will end probably this rally. And, well, that's what happens when we try, isn't it? And, man, oh man, this sort of thing seems to happen all the time with this game. And I've played NP3 for years now, and he always gets these weird things that happen. I'm going to re-roll that one as that one was rolled outside. I saw the garbage truck coming up. The roll is a 65 now for a 35, and that's a foul out to the catcher, Moran, who made the big play in that one, and that does it for that inning. And we go to the top of the 5th inning, and here's Wildflower Schultz. And man, oh man, what a play that was. Schultz rolls a 44 for an 8, and that's a ground ball over to the shortstop, O'Rourke, who makes the play over at first base for the out. 1 away. Here's Jimmy Slagle. You'll notice that Raymond is now a B. That's automatic with these boards. Slagle's roll is a 41 for 28. Same play as before. Ground ball to shortstop, out at first. Here comes Three-Fingered Brown. Brown rolls a 35 for a 13, strikes out, and that is the 3rd strikeout of the game that Raymond has induced. We go to the bottom of the 5th inning now, and here's Bobby Byrne. Byrne rolls a 22 for an 8, and that is a ground ball to the shortstop. Tinker makes the play to first base for the out. 1 away. Here's Art Huskutter. good Scandinavian or German name. Rolls a 56 for a 34, and we're going to have another little E roll. 2 errors already in this game on the shortstop Tinker. That is a 51, so he's going to get away with this one. It's a pop fly out instead to Tinker for the second out of the inning, and here's Bugs Raymond. He rolls a 22 for an 8, and that's a ground ball to Tinker. Makes the play at first base for the out, and that does it. And go to the top of the 6th inning. Here's Johnny Evers. Rolls a 35 for a 9 against Raymond, and that's a base hit, but with that little C, Evers is caught trying to steal second base. And that's only the second hit of the game for the Cubs, by the way, and they throw that one away. Here's Joe Tinker now. He rolls a 41 for a 28. That's another ground ball over to O'Rourke at short. Makes the play at first for the out, and here's Frank Chance. He rolls a 45 for a 14, and that is a base on balls. And here's another chance here from Moran. No pun intended. He rolls a 43 for a 29. That's a ground ball back to the pitcher Raymond. He goes to first base with it the easy way for the out. So we go to the bottom of the 6th inning, and here's Red Murray. Rolls a 41 for a 28. Ground ball to Tinker. Makes the out at first base. 1 away, and here's Albert Shaw. He rolls a 36 for a 33. That is a pop out over to Evers, who's probably happy to finally be able to do something out there since Tinker's had all the chances. Here's Kenichi, 2 away. Roll is a 61 for a 41, and that's changed to a 40, and that's going to just be a foul. It's automatic change for the unusual play result number. Next roll is a 64 for a 13 for a strikeout for Brown. Strikeout number 3 for him. We go to the top of the 7th inning. Jimmy Sheckard now will face Bugs Raymond, who's pitching well. The roll here for Sheckard is a 22 for an 8, and that's a ground ball again to O'Rourke, who at short, he makes the play at first, 1 away. Here's Harry Steinfeld. He rolls a 55 for an 8, does the same thing, ground ball to short, and it's a play at first just like that. And here's Wildfire Schultz now. He rolls a 53 for a 15. That is changed to an 18. That's going to be an error on O'Rourke finally, and that means a runner on first base for Jimmy Slagle. And the roll is a 16 for a 28. There's a ground ball again to O'Rourke, and he makes the play over at first base just like that. And we go to the bottom of the 7th. Joe Delahanty now still 1-0 Cubs. It's been 1-0 Cubs all the way here. He rolls a 55 for an 8, and that's a ground ball to Tinker at short. Makes the play at first, 1 away. Here's Billy Gilbert. Gilbert's not going to do anything. Rolls a 21 for a 30. Fly ball to Sheckard, 2 away now. And here's Patsy O'Rourke. Rolls a 32 for a 26. That's a ground ball over to second base. And it's Gilbert making the play. Throws over to first base for the out. We go to the top of the 8th inning now, and Three-Fingered Brown will start this one off. This is the dead ball era, can you tell? Brown rolls a 32 for a 26. That's a ground ball to second base to Gilbert. Makes the play at first for the out. 1 away. Johnny Evers now. He rolls a 56 for a 14 and gets the base on balls. That is walk number 4, I should say. Not only. That's quite a few walks given up here. Evers, who is responsible for the only run of this ball game, is on at first base again. Here's Joe Tinker, and we're going to hit and run. And the roll is a 45 for a 14, and Evers is able to steal second base. So that's that dangerous rule. If you play NP3, you have to watch out, and before you do the hit and run, you got to make sure you look at the card and you make sure you got an 11 here. He's got a couple of them, 1, 2. So you make sure that he's not thrown out stealing when you roll that 14, which normally would be a walk for you. Runner on second base now with 1 out, and again for Joe Tinker. Rolls a 65 for a 35, and that little E is not going to save us, unfortunately. It's a little pop out over to Byrne for the second out. Little E doesn't save us, by the way, because we look at the play result here, and then we look at the rating of the runner and whether it would be an error on the boards or not. The game saves all that trouble for you. 2 outs now for Frank Chance. The roll is a 13 for a 14, and that is a walk, and Chance takes first base. And here is Pat Moran with another one of these golden opportunities. He's had them all afternoon long. The roll from Moran is a 61 for a 36, and that is going to be a pass ball on the catcher, Hulskutter, and that means the first base is open. And, well, let's see. Moran is 0 for 3 today. Sheckard is 0 for 3 as well. We'll just pitch to Moran. We won't worry about walking him. 2 outs. Runners on second and third. 1-0 Cubs still. And the roll is a 22 for an 8. And that's a little fly ball over to Shaw in center field. Not going to harm anything at all. We go to the bottom of the 8th inning, and here's Bobby Byrne. He rolls a 21 for a 30. That's a fly ball to Sheckard. First out. And here's Art Hulskutter. And he rolls a 54 for a 45. We have a little E roll. It's going to be third baseman this time, but the roll is a 64, so no worry about it. It ends up being a fly ball over to Schultz, the right fielder, for the second out. And here is Bugs Raymond. He rolls a 36 for a 33. That is a pop-up over to Evers at second base for the third out. We go to the top of the 9th. Here's Jimmy Sheckard here to lead off the top of the 9th inning. He hits a 55 for a 9. That's a base hit for him, but with that little C, he's caught trying to steal second base, which is realistic, I would say. I would do that in this situation if I were him. Here's Harry Steinfeld now. Rolls a 26 for a 27. There's a ground ball over to Byrne at third base. He makes the play at first, 2 away. Here's Wildfire Schultz now. He rolls a 31 for a 9, and that's a base hit, but look at that little C, and he's going to also be caught trying to steal. Go to the bottom of the 9th inning now, and here's Red Murray, and this is the top of the St. Louis order to face Three Finger Brown. 1-0, 6 hits in this ballgame, 4 errors, almost more errors than hits. And let me readjust here so you can see what's going on. The first roll is a 33 for a 0. Red Murray is going to go double columns on us. And the next roll is a 56 for a 6. That is a double to right center field. And Murray starts this inning off the right way for St. Louis. Three Finger Brown's got to be a little bit rocked by that one. Good pitch by him, I would assume, but that one was rocked for a double. And now here is strategy corner. And the question is, do you bunt with Shaw? Do you want to try to hit with Shaw or with Kenichi? So we'll see if we can compare their cards. Kenichi has a little bit worse of an on-base percentage, a little bit better slugging percentage. Looking at the cards really quick, I'm just looking here across the way at the numbers. You got 0, 7, 10, 0, 7, 10 at the major power numbers. Both have 10s of 15, so they're about the same. 9 and 0, 9 and 0. You have a 5 and 39 as opposed to a 37, which is not a good roll. Here you have a 13 instead of a 22, so Kenichi has the slight advantage there. 8 on 44. Both have 14s on 45. 9 versus an 8. The 9 is what you kind of want against Brown, but if we get this far, I mean, whatever. The idea here is, do you bunt here or do you swing away? I think we're going to swing away here with Shaw. I don't see much of a difference when I'm comparing sort of the hit numbers in these cards. So we are going to swing away with Shaw and see what happens. Nothing, by the way, that the defense can do to stop this, because we're not playing like OOTP where you can adjust the defense all you want or whatever. This is a basic game. So we'll see what happens, see if Brown can get out of this jam. Roll is a 12 for a 29, and that's a little ground ball over to Chance at first base. He flips over to Brown, who covers for the out, and Murray sneaks his way over to third base. And now you have a runner on third base with 1 out. That is as good as a bunt, by the way. And there is 1 out here for the Cardinals to hand potentially the first loss to the Cubs. And now it is do or die moment for Kenichi. We're going to bring the infield in. Kenichi has, I think that 37. I'm not going to open up the boards here to look at it. I think that 37 is bad news, though, if you try to bunt. Anything unusual tends to be bad news if you try to bunt. And with 1 out, I mean, part of me thinks, well, yeah, you got to bunt to tie the game. The other part of me thinks, well, we're at home. We've got Jim Delahanty here on deck. Delahanty is just about the same type of hitter that gives you a second chance to kind of score. So if it were Gilbert here on deck, who's such an awful hitter, then I would say, yeah, we bunt here. But in this case, with 1 out, let's swing away. You can't really hit into a double play unless you get a really crazy result. Maybe that's what that 37 will do. The roll is an 11 for a 0. Oh, baby. And here's the second column. And look at all those ones waiting for us in that second column. And the next roll is a 64 for a 5. And that's going to be a double that scores the runner. And that will make Brown into a C. And it's a 1-1 ball game. And we have a ball game, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, man, we have a ball game for you. Oh, man, this is an amazing, amazing turn of events. And that means that we have a 1-1 ball game here with only 1 out here in the bottom of the 9th inning, and Joe Delahanty's coming up. We just have to hope that he's able to do something with it, considering what a bad hitter Gilbert is. Delahanty's hitting .067 so far this season. Now, Kenichi's slow at second base, and that might make a difference if there's a base hit. Do we play it safe is the question. Well, the most I can play it safe by is the no steal attempt, though I think I can. If I right click on him, I can play it safe. Let's see here. Option 1 base and a single, 2 on a double. Let's do that. We're going to do this here, and we want to check all restrictions, I think. We're going to just play it safe with him completely. This is the first time, by the way, I've ever tried that. We're going to play it safe with Kenichi because of that S rating. And here's Joe Delahanty. He rolls a 51 for an 8, which is a base hit. And normally would be a double or single that scores the runner. Runner on the second moves to third. Delahanty tries to steal and see S out at home, so we avoid the out, but Delahanty attempts to steal and is thrown out at second base. I should have said no steal, shouldn't I? And that's a little regret on my part, but I mean, whatever, we'll take it. You're going to need the steal anyway. 2 outs now, runner on third base. Delahanty is able to move him up at least with the base hit, but then unfortunately tries to steal. With Billy Gilbert up there, I think I would try to steal too, to be honest with you. We need to get a pinch hitter in here for Gilbert because this is pretty bad. None of those guys look like they're going to get it done. Let's see if there's a pitcher who can get it done. And you might laugh at me for doing this, but this did happen in real life. I don't know about 1908, but I know that this happened in the years prior to 1908. We're going to have Ed Carger come in there and pitch hit. Might as well when you got a guy who looks like he's a pitcher anyway. So Ed Carger is going to be the pinch hitter. This is probably the first time you've ever seen this on YouTube, a pitcher hitting for the second baseman, because the second baseman is such a bad hitter. And the pitcher is the better hitter than the second baseman. He rolls a 61 for 13 and strikes out against Three-Fingered Brown. And that is going to end it here. And we're going to go to the top of the 10th inning. That was a real interesting strategy, I tell you. And you never know what you're going to see on this channel. Carger is the pitcher, the pinch hitter, and he ends up striking out. We go to the top of the 10th inning. We're going to get somebody in here to play second base. Let's see if anybody can. Chappie Charles can. And it's going to be Chappie Charles, who's going to be the second baseman who comes in to relieve Carger. And Bugs Raymond is going to stay out there. And here's Jimmy Slagle to start off the top of the 10th inning. This hasn't been an exciting game in terms of numbers of base hits, but in terms of chances, this has been just one you can't miss. Slagle rolls a 54 for a 45. We have a little E to worry about. It's a 61's the roll, nothing to worry about. That is a fly ball over to Murray in right field, makes the play for the first out. Here's Three-Fingered Brown, who's going to stay in the game, of course. He rolls a 15 for a 10. That's a base hit for Brown, and he's the runner on first base now with 1 out. Here's Johnny Evers. And, now that we know how to do this, we are going to play it safe with Brown. And we are going to say no steal attempt 2 for Evers, just in case he hits something weird. The roll is a 23 for a 13. We should have just forgotten about the whole thing. There's 2 outs now. Joe Tinker now is the batter with Three-Fingered Brown still on first base. Forget about all the restrictions and everything else. He rolls a 56 for a 34. That is a high pop out over to O'Rourke. He makes the catch, and that is the 3rd out. We go to the bottom of the 10th. Here's Patsy O'Rourke. He rolls a 45 for a 14, and there's the walk. Three-Fingered Brown is now a D. O'Rourke, we're going to do the same thing that we did again. We're going to play it safe with him. Bobby Byrne comes up now. We want to bunt, I think. We don't care about steal attempts. We're going to bunt with Bobby. And the roll is a 12 for a 25. Here's a little E, though, and this little E might be the saving grace for the Cardinals. No, it's going to be a 35 is the roll. And there's a double play on the pop-up bunt. That's a pop-up over to Moran, the catcher, and he makes the throw over to Chance to double off O'Rourke, even though we were playing it safe with him. And here is Scooter, who rolls a 26 for a 27. This little ground ball over to third base, and Steinfeld's got it, moves over to first base for the out. We go to the top of the 11th inning, and here's Frank Chance. Rolls a 42 by Chance for a 41. That's changed to 37. That'll be a strike. Second roll, and we're going to do that one again because that was in between. That happens sometimes with these dice. Second roll is a 22 for Chance. That is a single to right field, as that ends up being a 7 against Bugs Raymond. Here's Pat Moran now. We're going to do a little hit and run action like we did before. The roll is a 61 for 36. There's a stolen base, and a wild pitch, runner to third. That is a very, very unusual result that I could definitely see happening in 1908. So Moran gets the roll, and that ends up moving Chance all the way up to third base, and Bugs Raymond with the wild pitch. And we're going to move the infield in, and Pat Moran is going to try to bunt. We're going to try to send this game home right here. Roll is a 36 for a 32. That is a successful bunt. That's a bunt over to the right side, over to Byrne, who makes the play at first base. That scores the runner. And that is the way that That is the way that the Cubs take their 2-1 lead here in the top of the 11th inning. And up next is Jimmy Sheckard. Now 1 out, nobody on. 2-1 Cubs, top of the 11th inning. Only 11 hits in this one all the way. And Sheckard rolls a 62 for a 12. And the little E rolls a 35, so nothing doing there. And that is a little ground ball over to first base to Kenichi for the out. That's 2 away. Here's Harry Steinfeld. He rolls a 52 for a 27. That's a ground ball over to third base to Byrne, who makes the play at first for the out. And we go to the bottom of the 11th. Bugs Raymond is going to lead this one off. I've seen what St. Louis's lineup is like, and I think we will pinch hit for him. I was going to say lineup, I should say bullpen, or what the bench is like. We're going to put Shad Berry in there, I think, to pinch hit. But I was about to say we could keep Raymond in there because there's really nobody. Rolls a 53 for a 17, and that changes to a 20. That is a error on the second baseman, Evers, and that means that Shad Berry is the runner on at first base now with nobody out, and here comes Red Murray. Berry, what does he have? Sorry, we have to go over here, and we can look at his card. He does have an 11, so with that 11, that means I'm a little bit happier about doing a hit and run because on a 14, he's not going to be thrown out. Rolls a 62 for a 12. And that is a hit and run ground ball, and that moves him over to second base. And so that does exactly what we wanted it to do. Murray is able to move the runner up here. And that means that there are going to be a couple of chances here for the Cardinals to potentially tie this ball game. Here is Albert Shaw. Albert Shaw here with Shad Berry on at second base and with only 1 out here in the bottom of the 11th inning. And the roll is a 14 for a 43. That is a fly ball over to Sheckard in left field for the second out. That is exactly the opposite of what we wanted to see happen if we're cheering for the Cardinals. And there are 2 away now. And part of me honestly just wants to see this game continue. Let's see how much further we can take an extra inning game here in 1908. Here's Ed Kenichi, and we had this big situation you'll remember in the bottom of the 9th inning. And Kenichi now with 2 outs and not going to do anything crazy. We're just going to roll, and the roll is a 44 for an 8, and that is a single over second base, and that scores the runner because remember, Barry's not an S, and Kenichi is the new runner on at first base, and just like that, it's a 2-2 ball game, and this game is going to continue. And have you seen anything like it? It's been a long time since I've seen anything quite like this one. Man, oh man, what a game this has been. And here's Joe Delahanty. Normally, I'd say Delahanty with a chance to drive in the winning run or something, but not quite. We need to get a bloop and a blast here. And the roll is a 64 for a 13 for the strikeout for Three-Fingered Brown, and you can forget all about that one. We go to the top of the 12th inning. And, Barry's not going to be the pitcher out there. Shad Berry is out there standing around saying, what do I do? I tell you what you do. You give the ball to somebody else. And, oh boy, I'm going to have to, excuse me for a moment here. I'm going to have to take a quick look here at what my pitching rotation is like for the Cardinals. Let's see. I'm looking at maybe Carger, from Higginbottom, or Sally. Higginbottom is the 7. From is also not really in the lineup. He's got a 12, and Sally has got a 6. So we're going to do From now. He's going to be the... I'm sorry, no, From is actually part of the rotation. I see what we have here. So we have BB, From, and Johnny Lush is going to start tomorrow's game. So we want to actually avoid using one of those 3. It's going to be between Higginbottom, McGlynn, and Sally. And when I look at those 3, we're probably going to actually use McGlynn. So Stoney McGlynn is going to be the relief pitcher here for the Cardinals coming into the top of the 12th inning against the Cubs in this one. And, this has been one of those games, let me tell you. Oh, man. Almost 30 minutes into this one, and Schultz comes up and he hits a fly ball over to left field. Delahanty's got that one for the first out. Here's Jimmy Slagle. Slagle rolls a 23 for a 32. That's a fly ball over to right field, and Murray's got that one. 2 away now. Three-Fingered Brown comes up. We're going to pinch hit for him. First time I think I've pinch hit for the Cubs in this entire replay. And where was he here? Kid Durbin is going to be the pinch hitter. Durbin comes up as a pinch hitter, as an outfielder, not much of a card. And he rolls a 21 for a 30. That's going to be a fly ball over to Delahanty in left field again. And we are going to put in a relief pitcher. And I have to go take another look here again at this. So let's see. It's Feister, Rulebach, and, of course, Overall. Overall, Feister and Rulebach are going to be in our starting rotation. So it's going to be between Frazier and Lundgren. and we're going to go with Frazier. The reason why, of course, is because, as always, we play to win, regardless of which team it is, so we make the best choice that we have. Chappie Charles now to lead off here at the bottom of the 12th inning. Charles wasn't expecting to play at all today. He rolls an 11 for a 0, and the second roll is a 41 for an 8. I was about to say a 6. You got to check first. You got to check first, son, before you make the call. And unfortunately for Charles, that's just a little base hit to left center field. I mean, it's a base hit, right? That's the 7th hit of the game for the Cardinals, who have hit the Cubs in this one so far, but that's not much of a result. And here's Patsy O'Rourke. But look at this. Charles has the F. Now, does he have the 11? He does have an 11, and so that means we are going to hit and run with him. And Patsy O'Rourke, now this is the other thing you look at. You always look at the number 31s we have. We have a 44, which counts as a 31 here for Skeetersoft. Do we have another 31 here somewhere? We do not. So it's a risky situation. That means that O'Rourke is really not much of a hit and run kind of guy. But you got to do what you got to do. He rolls a 13 for 39, which is an awful, awful result. And that means that the runner is out stealing. And man, oh man, I tell you, that is not what you want to see happen at all. After that base hit, that ends up being a called out stealing. That is not the result that you want on 13. You want a 14. Patsy, why do you have such a bad card? Next pitch to Rourke is going to be a roll for a 56 for a 34. We've got a little E that comes up. And the little E roll is a 23, just out of the range. That's a little pop-up to Tinker at short, and that's the second out. Here's Bobby Byrne. He rolls a 25 for a 9, which is a single against Frazier, but Byrne then tries to steal, and he is caught stealing. Top of the 13th inning. Here's Johnny Evers. My voice is starting to get tired. Can you hear it? Johnny Evers now rolls a 66 for a 0, of course, because it's 1908. Those 66s don't mean what you think. Second roll is a 51 for a 6, and that's a double for Evers. And Evers is one of the few batting highlights of this ball game. We're going to take a look and see what Evers has done so far in this one after getting that base hit. As we go to the next card, Evers has, let's see if we can count them, 1, 2, 3 base hits in this one. Let's see, we got to reset that. Yeah, let's see. He made 1 out, 2, and he struck out once and had a fly ball over to the third baseman, and he was walked once. So he's, 3 for 5 in this game. He was caught stealing, though, earlier in this one, and here comes Joe Tinker now with the runner on at second base. And the question is, do we swing away or do we bunt? We're going to bunt. And the roll is a 13 for 39, and that means that the pitcher catches the runner off at second base. Man, have you seen anything like this? Have you seen anything like this? What kind of roll is that? Why does he have a 39 at 13? I've got to have a talk here with Bill Staffa and ask what in the world he was thinking when he made these cards. Man, this game's going to last forever. So now there's nobody on. 1 out here. Top of the 13th inning is Stoney McGlynn catches Johnny Evers off at second base. The roll is a 25 for a 10, so Tinker still is able to get something going. Here comes Frank Chance. Hit and run. Yeah, we're going to hit and run. I'm just looking through this now. Let's take a look. Tinker does have an 11, thank goodness. Looking at Chance's card, and I see 1, 2, 31 type rolls. So yeah, we are going to hit and run with 1 out here, top of the 13th. Rolls a 25 for a 10. That's a good roll. Hit and run ends up with Chance also making the stolen base. And as a result, we have runners on second and third. And it was the right play call on my part finally. And that means with 1 out, there are 2 chances to drive that go-ahead run in. And here is Pat Moran with first base open. And this is where you really have a question, which is, okay, do we walk him and load the bases and change pitchers? Do we try to just get him out? I think we're going to walk him here, actually. So as I've said before, the way that you do an intentional walk, we don't do it very often in 1908. You usually don't need to, but what you do is you roll the dice and you hit the button and you say walk him, so walk him, and we walk him intentionally. The roll was a 16, by the way, which would have been a 26, which probably would have been just a pop-up, and that would have created a whole new set of problems. So, but we play the game the right way. When we say we're going to do something, we do it, and we have the cameras rolling to prove it. And that means that Jimmy Sheckard is up now with the bases loaded, and we are going to take McGlynn out of here for the Cardinals, who's not really been pitching all that well. who was it that we said? So let me look back at my cheat sheet here again. So it's BB and From that we're not going to touch. So it's going to be between Higginbottom and Sally. And between these two, it's going to be Higginbotham, who is going to end up coming into this ball game. So Higginbottom, and make sure that we make the right replacement. We do. Higginbottom comes in there, and here's Jimmy Sheckard now with the bases loaded, infield in. Sheckard, is he going to bunt or not? What do you think? Let me know what you would do in the comments, and I'm trying to look at this and decide what I'm going to do. Yeah, we're going to bum with him. We're going to bum with him. I can't leave this one up to chance. Kind of a weird thing to say, right, with a bunt. He rolls a 54 for a 45. That is going to be a little E-roll, though, and that error number is 18. The roll's a 36. That ends up being a bunt over to Kenichi at first base. He has to make the play to Charles covering at the bag, and that's the second out. Sheckard is successful with the bunt, and the top of the 13th has been wild. And I have to slow down a little bit to catch my breath. And this game has been going on for over 35 minutes now. This has been going on longer than the Diamond Mine game I just played. I had no idea this would happen with an MP3 game. And here's Harry Steinfeld. And what are we going to do here with first base open and 2 outs? We are going to walk him. So we're going to walk Steinfeld, and we say walk him as we roll the dice. That would have been a 35 for a 39. It wouldn't have done much. And so we load the bases again, this time for Wildfire Schultz. And here's Schultz now with bases loaded, nowhere to put him. And Higginbottom is just trying to get that out. And the roll is a 64 for a 29. And that is a little comebacker over to Higginbottom, goes over to Kenichi at first base for the out. We go to the bottom of the 13th inning. And here is Art Hulskutter again. This is going to be his 5th plate appearance of this one, I believe, if I'm counting this correctly. Let's go cheat. Yep, 5th plate appearance of this game, which shows you how good Chicago's pitching has been. And he is the leadoff batter here in the bottom of the 13th inning, and he rolls a 46 for a 29. That is a comebacker to Frazier, makes the play at first base for the out, 1 away. And here is a pinch hitter for Higginbottom, because we're not going to let him hit for himself with his awful bat. Oh, boy. We're going to put in Jack Bliss. Jack Bliss is the pinch hitter here for Higginbottom, who didn't do what he was supposed to. He did give up the run. Roll is a 55 for an 8, and that is a ground ball to Tinker at shortstop, and he makes the play to first base. 2 away, and here's Red Murray, and this is the clutch situation. And he rolls a 14 for 43, and that is a fly ball over to Jimmy Sheckard in left field. He makes the out. Cubs improve to 5-0. Cardinals go down to 2-3. Boy, I tell you, you got your money's worth for this one. What do you think about that, huh? 13 innings, 3-2, final score, 17 hits in this one. Cubs left 10 runners on base, still wind up with the win. 5 errors, 3 by the Cubs, and the Cubs, again, still end up with the win on this one. And I am tired. I'm going to go drink some water. I hope that you have a good day. I will see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.